In the book A Therapeutic Journey Lessons from the School of Life, the author has distinctly talked about art, freedom, and hope to combat mental illness. So, let's talk about art first. Art basically helps us to reflect realities with the drawings and with the paintings. It's a kind of a meditation, a tool which helps us to calm our mind and relax and slow our heart rate. And the paintings that have been described in the book focus on liberating our fears and our inner turmoil. Then the author also talks about freedom, freedom from toxicity that is around us, freedom from the ritualistic flamboyancy that we follow blindly, and also from the fabricated pride which comes from unsubstantial optimism that is around us. Sometimes it is good to be pessimistic as well. And lastly is hope. We all live with hope, hope that tomorrow would be better, even if we are experiencing the worst of adversities and sadness in our present. So let's start with art. And the first painting that I have picked up is Six Specimens. It was by a Buddhist monk. And this painting relatively tries to bring attention that small things in life are more important than running after the larger than life exuberance. So we find, these apples sitting right in front of us, and it's easy to walk by them. But if we stand still and observe this painting for, let us say, 3 minutes, within 30 seconds we will find our breathing slow down, our heart rate, coming relatively to a place where we can breathe without any anxiety. So this is how life is supposed to be. We need to stop at intervals to appreciate what is around us and how we need to govern our life. So the next painting is by George Kirsting, and it is called Embroiderer, where it is specifically trying to say that there is a purpose, we are absorbed in a purpose, and this is helping us remove the sadness from our life. So we see this woman who is serene around the contented four walls of her room, sewing with a needle. The surroundings are manifesting as a natural habitat for her. So any need of flamboyancy is not the mind she tries to have. So basically, this painting is telling us that we need to be happy with smaller things in life, maybe like sewing a needle or having some visual delights like seeing the leaves rustle, or making food in the kitchen, cooking for children, and rather than just running for larger than life pieces which will definitely cause trouble in the near future. Third painting that I would be talking about is The Wise Cows, and the mountains above them. So here I feel mountains can be they can be like the human ego that always considers itself to be big and always on a lookout to achieve something, full of prejudices. But these are the cows here who have not been bestowed with this kind of temperament from the Almighty. So we see the cows here, grazing and just concentrating on what they need to eat. Any kind of prejudice, any kind of shift in temperament, any kind of unfriendly behavior from their counterparts does not bother them. All they are concerned is to eat their share of pie. So this is how human beings need to behave as well. We need to concentrate on our purpose in life rather than reflecting on how the other person is behaving, whether we have received our needful, whether our ambitions have been achieved, and any kind of animosity should be left behind. Now we come to the freedom part of the book, and the first painting that we talk about is the aesthetic dance. It's not just one painting, it's basically a calibration of how we can free ourselves through various dance moves. See, life will hold a lot of grudges. It will hold a lot of emotions that have never received any outlet. They are buried inside us. And we need to find ways and means to free ourselves of this complexity that acts as nightmares at night and some bouts of depression in the morning. So, when we are dancing, we are not only moving our limbs and hands, we are taking out the pain that resides in us for maybe a long period of time. We are reuniting ourselves with the totality of the nature that exists. And once we are done with those dance moves and we sit, we may consider ourselves as insane because we have presented ourselves in the most obnoxious way. But ultimately, letting out that pain and freeing ourselves, from those ritualistic boundaries helps us to ease the grief that has, centered around us for a very long time. Let me read you an expression from Victor Hugo's Defiance. He says that it's necessary fog that clings to anything that shines. Fame must have enemies, as light must have knots. Don't worry about it, just have contempt. Keep your spirits serene and your life lucid. Never give your enemies the satisfaction of thinking that they have been able to cause you grief or pain. Stay happy, cheerful, contemptuous, and firm. And the last painting which would come under the freedom segment would be these two paintings which were drawn by Picasso. So this painting is more of his, morally encouraged painting, when he was at the peak of his career. And this painting is simply an antithesis of what he was capable of. So this typically comes out of the boredom factor, which the author is trying to elaborate on. Sometimes we are so busy in our lives that our moral foundations are bigger than the discipline we carry inside. And to unleash this discipline, it's very important to go through patches of boredom. When we are bored, we think irrationally. And this irrational moment sometimes brings out or decenters certain sentiments that are buried inside, and then we fabricate into a narrative which takes our life forward. So sometimes boredom is necessary to help us create more avenues in life. Under the hope section, we have this beautiful expression that the author has tried to envisage. It says that what we are truly being invited to see in the firefly is not an insect but a version of ourselves. We too are tiny against the darkness. We too have no option but to put on a desperate light show in the hope of enticing possible partners. And we too won't last very long. Fireflies all die within 3 weeks. Importantly, the metaphor is a generous one. We aren't being likened to rats or flies, with whom we have few less flattering similarities as well. Fireflies are graceful and mesmerizing. Many of our mental troubles spring from an overambitious sense of who we are. We ascribe to ourselves an importance that the natural world and our fellow humans turn out not to recognize. We protest a bad temper, at our puniness and lack of agency, which we need to correct. So when we compare the human sense with a firefly, one may consider this comparison to be a frivolous one, but in totality it is telling us about that we are all the dust of the feet. Ultimately, our arrogance, our prejudice, our ego, our egomaniacal pursuits that we carry day in and day out would not last very long. Whatever time we have in hand has to have a purpose, and the purpose has to be serene. It has to be so attuned with the life's. Sometimes we say that we need to be humble. So the life's purpose has to be etched within serenity and humility, so that when we are dancing like fireflies around, we know that the end will eventually come, but in humility. So lastly, we find hope in this beautiful painting called Arco di Riccardo. It talks about this arch, which got battered and mutilated, by people down centuries, maybe due to some war or calamities that happened. So when you stand across this arch, you see suffering, you see misery, you see what has been lost. But then when you move towards the arch and you cross it, there is hope. So we have to remember that no matter what our past has given us, how obsessions have treated us, how anxieties have engulfed us, when we move beyond with a purpose and a bent of mind that life has a lot to offer, we do find avenues. And this arch is something that we come across every day, but it is the hope to see the better beyond it that helps us to move forward.